Awesome. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. How are you, Natasha? How are you, Doriani? How are you, Christian? How's everyone doing tonight? So we are in November, okay? We are in November right before what would have been admission into, a high school. This was supposed to happen right at the top of December. We were supposed to be wrapping up our entire high school admissions process. I've carried almost 200 families through this process between our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And unfortunately, at this juncture, we are still at a standstill surrounding what high school admissions is going to look like. And I have a problem with that. So we wanted to convene everyone into this space to be able to have a hearty conversation, highlight some very needed voices, because it is very important that all sides of this conversation be heard. And then we are going to move forward with figuring out how we can take action. And we have some action steps for you all to take this evening during the call so that we can actually get some answers and we can be able to position our children for success. So I'm going to start off by introducing myself. My name is Tai Abrams, and I am the founder and CEO of AdmissionSquad, a nonprofit education organization on a mission to get talented students from underserved backgrounds into top New York City high schools. I'm also the best-selling author of Who Am I? An A to Z Career Guide for Teens. And we basically specialize in getting Black and Brown students into what we call the education to wealth pipeline. The schools we target have an exceptional track record of preparing students for rigorous college and career opportunities. And we've maintained an 80% success rate of getting these students ready for top high schools. This includes the specialized high schools. We've proven for the past 5 consistent years that with appropriate access to preparation, our Black and Brown students in New York City that make up 70% of the New York City public school system can achieve at the highest levels and place into New York City's most selective high schools. Today, you're going to hear from some of our past students to learn about their experience getting ready for the exam and why they support screening, and why the mayor and the chancellor should move forward with the plan to administer the test. Now, I wanted to make sure that we can start off by highlighting what is a screen school. A screen school is not only a school that requires an exam. A screen school is also going to be a school that is going to consider the child's report card grades, attendance, punctuality, and any form of state exam scores as a mechanism to determine whether or not they should be admitted into the school. There's also some schools that will require an interview or a portfolio to determine whether or not the child should be admitted. So this is not just a question of specialized high schools and using a singular test. This is also a conversation around whether or not we should hold students to rigorous academic standards as a prerequisite to gaining access to education. Now, this year, due to the pandemic, there's been a significant delay in communication regarding the high school admissions process. The mayor and the chancellor have been on a mission to dismantle screening as a mechanism for selecting students to be admitted into schools in New York City. And the coronavirus has presented an opportunity to move this plan forward. Now, the thing is, the big 3 specialized high schools are protected under state law called Het Calandra. And by law, there has to be an SHSAT. And that's why we were so adamant as a company that we were still going to ensure that our children were prepared. We went through with our summer and fall program because we knew that by law, this test needed to happen. And as of right this moment, there has not been any votes against administering this test. So right now, the DOE is out of compliance, and it is actually illegal for them to not move forward with the SHSAT. So as a parent, you have the right to actually speak up and contact your city council people, your assembly people, and you can actually let them know that, hey, you need to move forward with this exam. So we're going to talk about some practical steps that you can take to actually move that process forward. Now, the alternative plan that has been proposed by the mayor is to admit the top 7% of students from every middle school. Now, we know that there's no 7th grade data to base that off of, and we also know that the current grading policy, as we talked about in our last parent workshop, has been significantly relaxed. So we don't have a solid understanding of how students are actually performing. So that cannot be the mechanism that we use to admit these students. So a test in this case would be the best possible scenario. And what we want the mayor and the chancellor to do is use all of this beautiful technology that we have to actually administer this test online. Now, what I know about our Admission Squad students is that you all have done a phenomenal job of being able to participate in online testing. We've facilitated at least 6 diagnostic tests over the course of the last 6 months. And our students did a phenomenal job of following directions, submitting their answer keys, and being able to get the scores that they need to perform and get the data that they need to improve. And so we know that online testing can work. Okay. We also know that there are some best practices that need to be discussed. So we'll be sharing that with you all a little bit later on today, because the mayor has shared that there is a strong possibility that they will move toward a virtual administration of the SHSAT for this cycle. So with that, we want to share with you some of the best practices that we've learned on how we can do that. Okay. Now, before that, I wanted to go ahead and allow some of our speakers to chime in on this very important conversation. We want to hear from students. We want to hear from parents. We want to hear from educators. It is important that everyone has a chance to share their voice on this matter. So I'm going to be going with our program first, and then I see some familiar faces that I think should have an opportunity to speak as well. So I'll be sure to highlight a few other people right at the end of that, okay? So I wanted to start off with Ms. Remeise and John, who attended our program last year and were beneficiaries of our scholarship program. John was one of only 10 students to gain admission into Stuyvesant High School. He is a Black student. He is currently at Stuyvesant right now. And he is another example of what it looks like with when you actually give students access to prep, they can meet this bar of excellence that we have set. We worked with John from January of his 7th grade year up until 8th grade, and he now has the opportunity to say that he is attending Stuyvesant High School. So I wanted to turn it over to you, Ms. Remeise and John, so that you all can share your perspective.
Okay. Perfect. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for allowing us to speak, and and thank you for for just being on top of this and being such a strong advocate for our children. I think it is very important. I think it is an extremely important topic in terms of holding DOE accountable in terms of the quality of the education that our students receive. And one of the ways to ensure that they are receiving a quality education is by setting rigorous standards and making sure that our children can meet them, and by using that as a part of the admissions. For example, John was in your Admission Squad program, and he worked hard with your tutelage and your guidance, and he was able to gain admissions into Stuyvesant. And I can tell you that a school like Stuyvesant, the coursework is very rigorous and it's very challenging. And what the screening process or even the exam process does, it ensures that John is entering at a level where he is able to master the coursework, because I can tell you it is very rigorous. Can he do it? Certainly he can. But it just makes sure that at the level in which he came in, he had the necessary foundation to be able to master or to get up to speed with the work that is required of him. We just had our parent-teacher conference, and as a freshman, John is taking honors biology. We did not have a choice. This is what was given to him. And with honors bio, I had a conversation with his teacher, and the teacher said, in order to support him some more, we need to get the SAT2, the SAT2 bio book, the guidance book for the SAT2 exam. So that is the kind of coursework they're faced with. Our children can indeed master that coursework, but they need to have a certain foundation going in, and administering the test ensures that they are meeting that criteria. Now, in terms of the fact that many of our students are not at that point where they are meeting the standards, then I think that issue needs to be addressed at the middle school level and at the elementary school level. And I think the standard across the board for those schools needs to be a lot more rigorous to ensure that by the time the children get to the point where they are taking these exams, that they are indeed prepared for it. Did you have anything to add to that, John? What do you think?
Yeah, I actually agree with. Oh yeah, I agree with most of what my mom was saying about how, you know, the schools, we have the specialized high school test to kind of serve as like a baseline for all of the kids who get into these specialized high schools. I kind of feel that without the SHSAT, it would breed a whole new set of problems, such as, you know, since the sad reality in our country is not all schools are created equally, we could run into some challenges such as like everyone's curriculums not being the same. And because of that, some people have an innate advantage over others. And I don't think that's really fair. The SHSAT test, it kind of helps us like give like kind of a starting point, kind of basically like a rule set so that everybody can, you know, have a fair chance once they get into the schools, not just when they're taking the test too.
So essentially what we're saying is that administering the test ensures that they are there. Now, so this is where everyone's starting going into the school, but how they get to that point, then that's the issue. So we do know that some kids, they attend prep programs. We do know that for some children, they attend a middle school where the curriculum is extremely advanced. I know for my godson, who's also at Stuyvesant, when the middle school that he attended, by the time he was in 7th grade, he had taken the algebra regions. So that's what you're dealing with in terms of the different levels of education with these different middle schools. So so it, you know, I think the issue is getting the children up to that level where they're at the point where they're taking the SHSAT, that they can master the coursework.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Now we want to hear from Jenna, who also attended our program last year, and she came in right in July before the test, and it was cutting it very close, quite honestly. And we had only about 4 months to get her ready, but you know, we were so fortunate to be able to work with Jenna and get her to a place where she could place into Brooklyn Tech. So that was an awesome experience for her. She is right here on the call. So Jenna, I want you to just speak to your experience getting ready for this test, the pressure that you were under to address some of those shortcomings that maybe your K-8 experience was not able to meet, and you know what it's like for you now to be able to start off at Brooklyn Tech. How do you feel, and do you feel like, you know, more students should have this opportunity? Are you there, Jenna?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Okay, so hi everyone. So I think that my experience, it was a great experience overall, and I do think that a lot of kids should have the same opportunity that I had. When I first came into AdmissionSquad, I hadn't been learning the information that I actually needed to pass the SHSAT, and I caught on to that very quickly. The first couple of days, I was like, I don't know a lot of this information. I was never taught this. So I think that AdmissionSquad, the whole experience, that helped me learn a lot, and I felt really prepared by the time that I took the SHSAT. And going back to what John's mom was saying, I do think that the SHSAT is kind of like a foundation, in the sense that rigorous schools are essentially, can you handle a bunch of work given to you when you will be stressed, it will be difficult. So can you really handle that? I think that I think that the test is kind of like a baseline to that, because it's like, can you really take this test, and can you focus and be prepared when you're going to be under stress, because it is a time limit. And I think that the test is a great baseline, and there will be a lot of problems caused if kids don't take the test first going to an SHSAT or specialized high school or any other screening school, because it's important that kids are prepared so that they're not going in and they don't know what they're doing, essentially. And I think that having kids not take the test, or just trying to have this cookie cutter version of like the process to get into schools. I think that can really damage a lot of kids' future in schools. And I would definitely support taking an online version of the SHSAT.
Thank you so much, Jenna. And we are so proud of you. And we know that you have a bright future ahead of you because you have gained access to a high quality education. So we're so proud of you. Now, we wanted to hear from Nedia, who is one of our instructors. She's also wrapping up her college experience. She's also a graduate of Brooklyn College Academy, which is a screen school. So this is not just a conversation around specialized high schools. We are also talking about screen schools in general. And so when you think about a school like Brooklyn College Academy, they do require an exam, they require report card grades, attendance, punctuality. They're looking for a well-rounded student, but they do have a bit more of a robust admissions process. But when you look at these schools like Townsend Harris, BCA, Midwood, Eleanor Roosevelt, the actual issue, the inequity issue is still the same. So I wanted Nedia to share with us what her experience has been like, getting ready for, a specialized high school, a screened high school, how your experience has actually prepared you for your college experience and beyond. And I can personally attest to your amazing ability to just show up and be mature and be a leader and be a self-starter. She works with AdmissionSquad and she has been a phenomenal asset to our team. And I know that part of that has to do with the quality of education that she received. So Nedia, go for it.
Okay, so thank you for having me. So like Tai stated, I am an alumni of Brooklyn College Academy. I graduated in June of 2018. Basically, because of my affiliation with Brooklyn College Academy, I was also affiliated with Brooklyn College. So I was granted access to college courses from the time I was 14 years old. And the reason that Brooklyn College Academy knew that I was ready to do that is because, like Tai said, BCA is a screen school. They tested me. Some students were tested and some were interviewed, but they had to make sure that I was ready for it. Because of the screening that they did, they took into account my region scores, because I took regions in the 8th grade. They took into account my state exams, and they were able to assess what classes they should put me in the next 4 years, and the rigor at which those classes would be at. So because of my preparation for not only BCA, but specialized high schools in general, because I did apply to those, I was put into those college classes at such a young age. And I was also put into 10th grade classes in the 9th grade. So like Tai said, I was preparing for specialized high schools, not just because I wanted to go to BCA, but knew I had to go to a top high school. So the preparation for a specialized high school was very rigorous. It was very challenging, but at the end of the day, it did prepare me to go to a top high school. Not only did it prepare me for high school, but it also prepared me for college. I am an early graduate of college. I only started college in 2018, but I'm now graduating in the next couple of weeks. So because of my education at Brooklyn College Academy, it propelled me the future. So what I did before 9th grade is helped me well into my 20s. So that's really all I had to say about my preparation for high school. So.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys heard that. She's basically graduating from college in 2 years because she was able to get an early start on some of the college coursework that she needed in high school. So that's a big deal. And we have lots of screened opportunities like that here in New York City. And that is why these schools are so important. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. So then I wanted to speak to one of our instructors, Giselle, who has been able to support our team from an ELA perspective in the fall, but she also has a very interesting story to share. She's also a counselor in training and has a very unique narrative around, what she thinks about this whole screening process. And of course, we've all been working hard with our students and we expected an exam. We expected them to actually be able to demonstrate all of this amazing work that they've done. And it is heartbreaking. It is a crime to see what is happening surrounding them not having any answers around how they're going to be getting into high school. So Giselle, if you can share, your perspective, what you're seeing, what experience you've had working with our children and beyond, and what should happen around this high school admissions process.
Hi, so I attended a screen school in high school. I went to Bard High School Early College. And so I was able to get an associate's degree after high school. And yes, it was a very rigorous and intense, stressful experience, but I'm very thankful for that experience. I think I can talk for students who are first generation, whose parents don't speak English. My parents came here from Mexico, and, as soon as they came here, they were, fearful of anybody who didn't, talk Spanish. And so it wasn't their fault that they were scared of, keeping their children safe. So obviously they weren't able to communicate with anyone about, what's best for their children. So I wasn't able to realize my full potential because, my parents were really scared of, people telling them, hey, she should go to this program for specialized, high schools. And they're like, well, we don't know these people. So I can really speak to that experience where parents, are unsure of who to trust. They're fearful of, who to trust their children with. And, people who don't speak Spanish, it's a very scary experience for parents who are alone in this country and don't know, who to trust, especially with the tensions in our country. It's a very scary experience to go through alone. So I had to go through the admission process in New York City by myself, because my parents didn't understand any of the applications. They were all in English. Also, the interview processes, I just had to go by myself. Because my parents had never taken the subway before. So it was a very scary experience for everyone, but I'm thankful that my parents were supportive and they really pushed me to go through the process, even though, they couldn't really help me with the language side of it. And they're very proud of me for being able to go through that. And now being able to share my experience with students who are going through the same thing. That's what inspired me to want to be a school counselor and help those kids who are alone in the process now, especially during this scary time in this pandemic. I can only imagine what parents who don't speak English are going through right now, helping kids trying to navigate the virtual education. It must be a very scary experience. And my heart goes out to all those amazing parents and guardians who are helping their children through that right now. But right now, I definitely, just like Tai was talking about, and Nedia and Ms. Remeise, it's very important to support students through this screening process and the specialized high school process, because it helps them understand the standard that comes after high school and post-secondary education. And it helps them prepare them for the life beyond, where eventually they will be in a competitive workspace and a competitive world where they will have to face interviewing, setting a certain standard for themselves, being a professional in the working space. It helps them with that. And it definitely prepared me. My middle school really set me up for a good amount of a standard. But once I entered Bard High School, I knew it was a whole other world. And I really had to reach up to that standard. And I'm very thankful for that, because I ended up going to my dream school, John Jay College, and I ended up graduating in 3 years. And I loved it. I loved my experience. Once I got there, I knew what I had to do. For me, college was so easy. It was a breeze because of all the preparation that I went through. And now I'm in grad school and it's also easy. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm interning at a high school where I really see the school counselor supporting kids day and night, making sure that they're going through their college process as, making it as easy as possible for them, and communicating with parents. I think I see that huge difference, making sure that parents are feeling safe, supported, honored, and, they're being reached out to. Because I think, with parents, some of them have really bad experiences with school. And I think as educators, it's our job to make sure we let them know that it's okay, we're here for them, and we support them. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Giselle. That was amazing. Again, a very important narrative. There's, again, so many different perspectives, but we're talking about preparing children for life, preparing them to be successful post-graduation and beyond. And that's where these schools come in. I wanted to transition to a good friend of mine, Ian, who went to Bronx Science as well. I'm a graduate of Bronx Science, went on to Duke University, and I recognize personally the amazing opportunity that comes with going to these schools. Ian also can attest to that. And we actually had him as one of our speakers during our summer program. And he shared with the students that he had 8-hour-long exams when he was undergoing the process of becoming a doctor. So I wanted Ian to share his experience with taking rigorous exams in order to get ready for his career path, and what role screening in any capacity has played in your success.
Well, Tai, thanks for having me, and good night, everyone. It's great to see all the faces that I'm seeing now. I got to say that with John and his mom, it sort of threw me back to memories of my mom as well, just sort of being there as I went through the process. So as Tai said, I went to Bronx Science with her. I was a year ahead. And testing has played a major role really at every step of the way. And how I'd like to think about it, I try to find, things that to paint a picture. So I think for me, the specialized high school exam was really that first domino that led to where I am today. Simply because that was the first specialized exam that I had to take that was long and I had to sit down and study for. Then as you move on, you have to study for your SATs. And then you have to study for me, I had to study for the MCAT for medical school. And I actually looked up the times for some of these exams as I had to talk today. The MCAT today is about 7.5 hours of exam time. After that, there are different board exams that you have to take that are 8 hours long. I'm currently studying for one that's about 2 days long. And it sort of goes on from there. There's some exams that are about 10 hours long in the medical process. So getting that experience is really important, as, kids go along, because, these exams come up at various points in life, as I think Giselle had said. It's really, as you go on, these exams come up and you do have to take them. So I think it's really important that these students take that exam.
Thank you so much, Ian. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
I don't know, is Kevin and Zalia on the line? Yes, I see Kevin. So Kevin and his daughter Zalia, they were a part of our program just last year, and they are another minority student who placed into Stuyvesant High School and went through rigorous training with our program in order to get in. So just wanted to give you all an opportunity to share some of the benefits of that process. I know that Zalia also tested for Hunter, so she was no stranger to rigorous testing. But what are some of the benefits that you saw through the process? And Zalia, now that you're at Stuyvesant, how does it feel? And do you feel like there's a difference?
I mean, it's definitely more difficult than my middle school, just because all the classes are harder, which, I mean, I was expecting that, but I wasn't expecting the amount of work that there was. It is pretty easy to deal with once you get used to it, which takes a bit, but then you kind of get it and it's all good. I mean, yeah, that's all I have.
I pulled her away from homework to come down to be here. One thing this is like the first chance that I've had to thank you, Tai. Zelia would not be at Stuyvesant without you saying she should go to Stuyvesant and helping her and supporting her through the program. It just would not have happened. So thank you for that.
No problem.
The experience, I think, really what the experience of preparing for the test did, she's using a lot of that stuff now. Just going, how do I say it? If she hadn't taken the test, she would not have ended up at a good school. She great grades, but she was sick a lot in her senior year in missed school. So a lot of the higher end non-screening schools that she was interested in, she got dropped first round because of absences. And having this opportunity to have another opportunity that would help her get into a better school was just, I don't know what we would have done without it. So I definitely see the importance of keeping this test around, because there are students, there are top students that have some other issues that might keep them from getting into the non-screen schools. It's just another opportunity, and it's an important opportunity.
And what do you think about screening in general? So the plan is to do away with all screening and shift to a strategy called educational option. That's another proposition. Educational option says take the top 16% based on ELA performance, the bottom 16%, and the middle 68% or so. And basically throw a mixed bag of students together, and that be the standard way that students are admitted.
That's not going to work very well.
She says that's not going to work very well.
Right.
I guess my question is, what is the fear of having these top students together? I don't know what the fear is in that. I think it's a great opportunity, because I think what happens when they're in other schools, they can't be their best. They have to pull back. They're not given an opportunity to be. And I think this just gives them the screen school, going through that, getting in, it gives you an opportunity to really go as far as you can go.
Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Remeise, did you want to say something? Go for it.
Am I okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't think that would work as well, simply because we do know that not all schools are created the same. So we can have a top performer at a school in one particular district, and they're doing phenomenal, and their Common Core exam says they've been getting, all fours, but the reality is, the Common Core or the state exams are not a good indicator of how they will thrive in a very in a highly academic environment, such as the specialized high school and the screen school. The Common Core exam is not a good indicator, and I think that is indeed a problem, because I think a lot of parents, use that as a gauge, and they'll see that their kids are scoring, 4, and they're doing well, and they're coming home with 90s, and they think, oh my goodness, they are prepared. And then it's a very sad reality when they go and they sit for these exams, and the children do not do well, because what they're learning in the classroom does not necessarily align with what they're being tested on for the SHSAT and sometimes at these other screen schools. So I do not think that that's a good indicator. And, as I said before, not all curriculums are created the same. John went to a decent middle school. His godbrother went to a more rigorous middle school where, as I said, he had the opportunity to take the algebra regions in 7th grade. If you are taking the algebra regions in 7th grade, chances are you are going to do phenomenally well on the SHSAT. And that's what we're seeing, that these children that are doing well on the SHSAT, they're coming from certain schools. There's a small percentage of middle school. And I think that's the problem. We need to expand that high curriculum out to a lot more middle school so that we have more opportunities for children of color. And I think that's where the problem lies.
Absolutely, Ms. Remeise. So, we've pretty much been consistent with, it's a K-8 education issue. Gifted and talented programs were defunded in a number of school districts, and that is where we lost our pipeline. So if we restore that access to accelerated material, enrichment material, then our students can meet this bar of excellence that we have set. And it's so important that we think about it from this perspective, because we have a world that we're preparing them for. We all know, I have a friend who knows Robert Smith, the billionaire that gave all that money to Morehouse, those graduates. And he basically said he doesn't have a lot of Black and brown talent at his company because they can't pass his assessments. He has rigorous assessments that he requires the candidates to take if they intend to work for his company. We all know, if you want to be an investment banker, there's assessments. An accountant, even if you want to be a teacher, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, there's assessments at every level. And K-12 is supposed to prepare our children for that reality. So if we remove that at this level, we are lying to our children. We are not giving them a fair shot at success. So that's what it comes down to. Go ahead, Ms. Remeise.
And I can say also, Ms. Tai, I reached out to you I think it was last week, and I said, thank you so much for steering us in this direction of Stuyvesant, because it was not our first choice initially, and because we were concerned about two things. We were concerned about the diversity, and we were also concerned about the rigor. Oh my God, is it too much? And I am so glad that you steered us in this direction in terms of saying, this is one of the top high schools, and that's what you should think about for John. Because the reality is, throughout life, you are going to have to encounter these opportunities where there are high standards, and we should not shy away from that for our children. Absolutely. We should encourage them to meet those rigorous standards head on, because that is how they're going to compete.
That's it. And when I have friends who work at Sty, everybody's struggling through Corona, but specialized high schools are not. Those standards are still sustained. The children are still held to rigorous academic coursework.
Can you attest?
Google
Yeah.
Yeah,
we are.
Absolutely. So, I'm certain of it. So we need to double the number, triple the number of specialized high schools so that more children can have this opportunity, not dilute what we already have. Now, I wanted to speak to one of the parents that are in our program that are just kind of wrapping it up and is going through this crazy situation of not understanding how to navigate the high school admissions process. So I see Curtis Smalls, you're here with us. I was hoping you'd be able to share a couple words. His daughter, Maya, was also featured in the New York Post and, was able to share some of the frustrations around having to navigate this process and wanting to just go to a good high school, and the mayor and the chancellor has completely dropped the ball. We are under what we call mayoral control of the schools. And so with that, the mayor does have the final say, and he is delaying this process of getting students, to have clarity around this high school admissions process. So Curtis, if you can just share, you and your daughter, like, what has it felt like to have put in all these months of prep and then now be at this juncture and you have no information?
Well, Tai, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep, you're all great.
Me and my daughter, we are very, very disappointed. And we haven't stopped fighting this battle yet. And I feel sometimes that we are doing it alone, okay? Because we don't communicate with a lot of people outside the admission squad or with the Board of Ed. I was on the phone with them 2 days ago, and they don't know what's going on, okay? I'm on the phone with the guidance counselor, Delphine Manhart. She's a guidance counselor at Stuyvesant High School. She has no clue of what's going on. And all we are saying as parents is it's either or. Either you give it or you don't. Just tell the parents the criteria in which we need in order for us to get our kids in these schools. We're looking for the criteria. Just tell us. If they are not going to tell us parents that the Board of Education and the chancellor and the superintendents do not have a clue on how they're going to administer this test. Just like the sun shines every day, you have to have incoming freshmen for the 21st year coming. Otherwise, the teachers are out of business. So do they know? I sincerely believe they do know, Tai. Why they're holding back? There's probably a million reasons why, okay? But we was in the Post. We're trying to get it out there. We got to keep screaming. We got to keep fighting to make sure that this test is a legitimate way of measuring our kids' aptitudes to get into these schools. Because just by your program, it indicates that there's a lot of work going on. Your program is no joke. My daughter went to the whole program, and then in the fall, she had to go to a regular school. And now if you go to parochial schools, the students are going to school every day. They have not deterred from Corona. They are in school, on site every day. The public schools, they don't have, I don't get it, Ty. So we are frustrated and we want answers. We're doing too much talking. Now we're in the middle of the year. You're going to say to me as a parent, you have between 30 to 40 incoming freshmen that we're going to try to administer them into high school, and we're going to do it fairly and properly, it's impossible. Time has ran out. And the mayor, if he is breaking the law, then we should hold him accountable.
That is excellent.
Okay, that's what I have to say.
Thank you. So that brings us to the actual action steps that we need to take. So as we said before, this is a very political issue. This really shouldn't be. It should just be about educating children. But this has turned into a very political, divisive issue. And as parents, specifically our community, the minority community, we do have a voice, but no one's hearing from us. So that's why it was really important for us to mobilize tonight and have you all take one specific action step. So we've posted a link in the chat box. This is an easy way for you to go ahead and actually contact your elected officials. The language is already prepared for you. You just have to click that link and go ahead and enter your information, and you can contact the mayor and the chancellor, and you can also contact your city council person. So this way they can hear your voice. And we have 141 people on the call. If we all did it right now, based on where you live, we would flood their inboxes right now with our concerns around there being a lack of information around high school admissions. Just this past week, I don't know if you guys saw, there were these high school admission sessions that were published, and we all got so excited because we were like, finally, some clarity. Within 24 hours, the Department of Education abruptly canceled all of those information sessions and says, sorry guys, just kidding, we'll be in touch soon. I think that's completely inappropriate. And so at this point, as you said, Mr. Curtis, we do need to take action. We need to go ahead and contact our elected officials, let them know that we have a problem. We have a problem with how this entire ordeal is being handled. We do want these schools to be preserved. Our children can do the work, and we think that they need to move forward with providing increased transparency on how students are going to be admitted into these high schools. Now, in the past, the old timeline had families submitting high school applications within the first few days of December. At this point, it's too late to pull that off. So just to ease some anxiety, it's highly likely that the applications will not really go in until next year. We're thinking it could be around February, March at this point, and everything is just significantly delayed. Now, what that time frame would look like for the SHSAT is, because there's no plan as of right now, it's highly unlikely that there's going to be a test in 2020. But you still want to make sure that you're getting your children prepared, because by law, they still needs to be a test. So don't drop the ball. Continue to have them practice the exams. We have all the handbooks on our website, but please stay focused from a preparation standpoint, because we don't want to get distracted and then they're actually not able to qualify. So let's make sure that we keep our eye on that prize. But from an action standpoint, you really do need to go ahead and contact your politicians. We do have a link that, we're posting into chat, and literally just click that link and enter your information, and you're able to contact them and let them know. All the language is there. You can read it to make sure you agree. We're not telling you what to think, but we are telling you, you have to do something. And so when you do something, you now let these folks know that you mean business, that your children have done the work, they can qualify, and that you have a voice, that you see that there is an opportunity for these rigorous schools to stay in our New York City ecosystem. And in fact, we should grow the number of high quality high schools that we have available. Too many of my peers, we all went to have friends at Harvard. I went to Duke. I had friends at Princeton, Yale. We all benefited from some version of screening. When I was at Duke and I looked left and right and I saw my Black and brown peers, every last one of them came from a screened school. Now, one side of it can say, hey, why should we do that? Why should we have screening? Or we can think about, let's build that capacity. If we had 100 screened students getting into Duke University, we can triple that number and have 300 next year. But we recognize that when we set high bars of excellence and we hold students to that level, they will actually meet those standards. That's how I think about screening. It is simply holding this high carrot of success to our children's minds, and they are pushing to reach that standard. Without it, they will settle for mediocrity, and we can't allow that. We cannot allow that. So again, we are putting that link right into the chat box. All you have to do is click on it. Thank you so much for everyone who's done it. It's very easy. We've done the language. The Education Equity Campaign put this website together for us. So all you have to do is put your information, and literally we are going to be flooding the mayor and the chancellor's inbox with this message that we want more transparency on the high school admissions process. It is unacceptable for us to be in the middle of November, about to go into the holiday season, because you know everybody's ready for a break. All the teachers are ready to go on break right now, and we still have no clarity on how our children are going to be getting into these schools. It is a crime, and I have to say it like that because it is unfair that some students have access and others don't. That doesn't mean you remove the standard. It means let's build capacity. Let's make sure everyone has the preparation, and let's make sure that information is spread from an equitable standpoint. So that is really, really important. Thank you so much. Now, I wanted to allow another colleague of mine to share some some action steps that they have taken to actually mobilize and ignite parent voice across New York City. And it's so wonderful that all the communities are coming together to make this thing happen. So Mr. Cohen, if you're still, I just ask you to unmute. Yep. Please go ahead and share some of the action steps that you've taken and what our parents can do to actually have a voice in this conversation.
So can you hear me well?
Yep, you sound great.
So I've been working with a group of 8th grader parents. My name is Haim Cohen. I'm an immigrant, right? I've been here for 16 years and I never been an activist or anything like this, never joined a town hall. But a few weeks ago, I started a GoFundMe campaign because I was worried about the SHSAT test. So what we did as a group of parents, we started contacting government officials. We got in touch with people like State Senator Dabo, State Senator Stavitsky, State Senator David Lee, and they're very responsive. And they wrote the mayor. But the fear that we have is we're fearful that Mr. Carranza is not going to follow the law and hold the SHSAT. So what we did, we started a GoFundMe campaign to take legal actions. We spoke with a lawyer. We're trying to raise 15 grand. It sounds like a lot, but we're almost like at 7,000. Now, I feel like it's not a place for me when we have this town hall of this great nonprofit that Tai is leading to ask for donations. So what I do ask you, I'll post the GoFundMe, do whatever you can. The best you can do is go and share it on social media. When it gets shared in social media, the donation coming in. Our fear, talking with Laura, is that, thank you, is that Carranza and the mayor, they're leaving next year. And there's no consequences. They can go and say, oh, we're not going to do the test. COVID is an excuse. And the governor doesn't want to get involved. So we feel like Carranza will have to listen to a judge. And it's very sad. If I have 2 more minutes on a personal note, I do realize that although I'm an immigrant, I talk with a point of privilege, so I acknowledge this. I do realize there is a problem, right? When I look at these high schools and I see like, well, why do these high schools do not represent our community? To me, it's an opportunity for untapped talent. To me, I believe that talent distributed equally between all the kids. And if we look at a school and we see, hey, why we don't have the same representation or similar to the community representation of Black and brown kids, to me, it means there are Black and brown kids out there that simply need to be given the opportunity and the help they need because the talent is there, right? And to me, it's an untapped talent. So solutions could have been taking our hard-earned taxpayer money, building more schools, going to these communities where there is lack of representation and finding out how do we help, how do we fix these schools. But what Carranza is doing, fixing the problem by eliminating any grades, is basically hiding the problem. Nobody will know there is a problem, right? So I think it's the wrong approach. I also think that Carranza sadly made this issue about race and politics, which is very sad. You know, I never imagined that something like high quality education would become something like this, but it's sad, but that's what he did. He's trying to make it a divisive issue, and I'm happy to see that so far the people I spoke with, there is a consensus that we're all on the same page here. So that was for me, thank you. And I do appreciate what Tai is doing here. Look at the nonprofit, and I think it's amazing. You know, if we don't use the money, maybe I should talk with the other parents. Maybe that money should be going to this nonprofit. It's much more effective than paying a lawyer to fight Carranza in court.
Yeah, well,
right?
We're not refusing it. So.
Of course not, but this is where the effort should go. I feel like, sitting at night posting on Facebook is just a waste of time. But you have to do it,
Yeah, no, we've done it again, not to tune our own horn, but like between the parents, our teachers, the exceptional leadership of Admission Squad, we have done a great job of really showing that we can be a solution. There is a solution
of course
to getting these children in. And it's just really sad that the narrative is that they just can't do the work, and it's a lie. Yeah. And I'm a product of these schools. I'm a product of having access to accelerated education in middle school and having that be the sole way that I got into Bronx Science, and it literally changed the trajectory of my life. So I have a problem with denying our children this same opportunity. I think it's just wrong. Yeah. So, so I'm just really so happy that everyone could be here tonight. I just wanted to talk about some next steps for, our Admission Squad families. I know we have a lot of our 8th grade parents on the line with us. So we do plan to have our final diagnostic, and we do plan to reinstitute at least 1 month of preparation at no cost to all of our 8th grade families so that you all can be prepared. We just need a firm commitment from the mayor and the chancellor on what that date is. So we did not, leave you guys hanging. Our program was slated to end on November 1st. We did finish our program as promised, but we have re-upped on our fundings to be able to provide at least 1 month of prep to our children leading up to the actual test. Now, in terms of getting ready for a virtual exam, it's really important that you do a few things. We want to make sure that you have scrap paper ready. This is just some best practices that we've learned from administering, the test for, all of the students in our program. And it's very important that you have your scrap paper ready. You have some sort of a writing utensil to be able to write all of your answers down, okay? Do not only put your answers on the computer, make sure you also write your answers on a sheet of paper. Our children went through multiple rounds of that. They were very frustrated by it, but it is a very safe mechanism to ensure that if anything goes down, you still have your answers written down, okay? And you take a photo of it. That's like a legal document. You can, have that as an additional stamp that you've actually done the work. Make sure you have your timing device. Every time that you're working on the exams at home, you should be using a timing device and allowing that to be a mechanism that you're using to coach yourself. So when we think about, the math section, it should be 1 minute per math problem. And then for the ELA section, we coach our children at around 8 minutes for each of the reading comprehension passages. So none of that has changed. You just have to be a little bit more independent and start facilitating some of those opportunities for yourself right at home. Okay. Now, the student may not be able to venture away from the screen. So we had questions around the timing mechanism. So there are, if you look at, the GRE and the GMAT and some of these other standardized exams that are administered online, there are some of these computer programs where if you venture away from the screen, they will kind of count that against you, or, maybe you won't even be able to leave the screen at all. So there's like actual technology that can track if you're looking at other screens on your computer. So don't prepare to cheat, make sure you prepare to actually focus on giving your best to this exam. Don't focus on extra learning aids because it actually will eat away at your time. So you want to actually take this test just as if you were actually in front of, like in an actual testing center. And that's going to make a huge difference for you in terms of making sure that you're prepared. Well, the program continued in January for our current 7th graders. So for 6th and 7th graders, we were not given funding to provide 6th and 7th grade full scholarships for the entire year. So, once we start back in the new year, we do not have scholarships. You definitely can pay for the additional support. Our scholarship program does not start until the summer. So we usually provide subsidized programming for summer and fall. So we definitely will be in touch with you all about some alternative options if you decide to move forward with us for the spring semester. Okay. The exam can be proctored virtually. So the way we do it in Zoom, we have everyone sitting at a desk, and then we have someone, you know, just right across the screen, you know, being able to look at your children sitting down at the desk. If they want to step away, they have to raise their hand, they're timed. You know, these are things that can be administered virtually, and it has been done. The SAT has been done virtually, you know, the tax exam has been done virtually. So some of these other exams have definitely allowed for and planned for a virtual administration of the test. So I just want to get your minds comfortable with the idea of, you know, your children taking this exam online, because it is a viable option for them to administer this exam to 30,000 children and have it be done safely and have it be done legally. So that's something to keep in mind, okay? So it's the right direction. You know, considering we are in a global pandemic, the answer is not to do away with the test. The answer is to leverage technology to administer this test. So, you know, just want to start you guys getting comfortable with the idea of that's how it can be administered, okay? So I don't know if anyone had some question. I think I saw Ms. Remeise, you had a question. Did you have anything you wanted to share, Ms. Remeise?
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Sheila, you said, do you plan on having prep for the 8th graders soon? So I just said, once we get a firm date on the SHSAT, we will reinstitute at least 1 month, that's at least 4 sessions, and hopefully we can also add in the office hours. This is pending the availability of our wonderful instructors. We want to offer 1 month of prep, that's at least 4 sessions, and the final diagnostic right before the test. So, you know, with enough lead time, we intend to pull that off at no additional cost to our 8th grade families. So that would look like a weekly session, at least 4 sessions, and then that final weekend would be the final diagnostic SHSAT that we promised, and then we would give our final recommendation, as we always do. We typically send out a report to each family to let them know, based on how your child has scored throughout our program, this is how we suggest you order the schools on your list, okay? Questions regarding charter schools. Judy, did you have a specific question? Okay. Yeah, so once it's available, so for students who have been in our program, they are like kind of grandfathered in, so they're already on our mailing list. If there are additional folks who want to join, we will, you know, we can put a flyer together and we can figure out how to allow for that to happen. You know, we can definitely make that happen. So just kind of keep a lookout, make sure you're on our mailing list, because we'll definitely start there first. We'll just send out a blurb, say, hey guys, we're starting back our classes. You know, we have at least 4 sessions and we hope to add some office hours and, you know, that final diagnostic. So just right on our website, we have our mailing list, okay? I don't know if Nedia, if you can grab the link for the mailing list, that would be great, or like the link for our website and post it in chat, that would be great. 7th grader took this last week, and will we get the answer key and grade? Yeah, so it was automatically coded into the Google form. So if your child did not download it, we will have to go and manually send it to you, but it was automatically graded through the Google form. So we kind of already have those scores. So we just said that. How long are the test prep sessions? So the test prep sessions, the way we ran it for the fall is 4 hours. So you have 2 hours of math, 30-minute break, and then 2 hours of ELA. And that is the weekend-based program, and it's once a week. And then they also had office hours. They had an hour and a half of math support and an hour and a half of ELA support if they had any questions throughout the week. And then of course we administered the diagnostic online. It was about 3.5 hours. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Yes, absolutely. Just check out our program on the website. The Early Start program will be for 6th and 7th graders. So Judy, you had a question about charter schools. What is your question? I know that in general, people really are switching from specialized high schools. We had an influx of families focusing on Catholic schools this year because they just were starting to lose faith in the specialized high school process and in the screen high school process. So that was a trend that we saw. We also saw folks figuring out how to come out of pocket for private school. And we also saw a number of families leaving New York City. But definitely there are some charter schools that you may want to look into. I don't typically, advocate for charter schools because I do think that some of the screen programs are, superior. But in this case, you might want to keep an open mind. So I'm just trying to figure out what exact question you had about the charter schools. Okay, Judy, yes. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my question in regards to charter school is that my son's school seems to be withholding information in regards to allowing him to test for the SHSAT. And I believe that that is based off of his enrollment feeding into the high school that they have. So they basically want to keep him in the network so that he can continue on into their high school versus him moving on into possibly gaining an entrance into a specialized high school and or passing the SHSAT and things of that matter. So as far as creation codes and being able to access securing his testing seat or things related to him being able to test, what suggestions do you have in regards to that? That's the first thing. If you want me to wait on the second thing, I'll do that. You just let me know.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I can speak to that really quickly. So what happens with charter schools do receive private funding, right? So the idea is they get re-upped on their funding based on the academic performance of their children. So if they have high performing children and it's a 6 through 12 charter school, they are not about to let you guys go. So that's why they withhold information from parents. And it's really critical that you be plugged into, private, or independent parent networks where information is freely, flowing, so that you are not kind of like drinking the juice of one specific school and not really having the right of parent choice. So from that standpoint, if your school is not supporting you, you also have something called a family welcome center. You can go right on the DOE's website. Again, Nedia, if you can grab that link and post it in here, that would be great. But basically the family welcome center is based on where you live, and they're spread across, and set up for every school district and or whatever community you're a part of. And they can provide you with all of this information. Now, I know their physical locations have been closed because of Corona, but they are available via email and phone, and they can get you all of that information that you need. So think of a family welcome center as you being new to New York City. But technically, even if you're in a charter school and you're now entering the public school system, you're kind of new to the system as well. Yeah. So they are welcoming you in, and they will provide you with all of the information that you need. So you just need to find the one that is associated with where you live and start getting all of your information from that resource, because they are set up to provide you with that support. Okay.
Thank you. So I appreciate that information, as I was able to go ahead and kind of filter through the red tape. And I am in communication with the family center, and they are going to provide me with the creation code so that I can at least secure him getting a test. However, I'm still owning on to the charter school providing me the information, just so that in the event that I need to write to the state and their board of reviews, because it's unfair. They were created to provide choice, so they should not be limiting choice and access to parents to move on to bigger and better things. But the second question that I had was for my second child. I would love to find out more information pertaining to your program specifically, because my son is in a non-for-profit SHSAT testing program. Your program, at the time that I learned about it, there were financial obligations that I wasn't really able to support. So I know you mentioned something about a scholarship program. So my daughter's in 5th grade. She just started. So I just wanted to know what information can you provide to me in regards to scholarship and or any opportunities, so that I can kind of align her with your organization, because I feel like you have been very transparent and keeping parents abreast to what's happening. So I would love to connect with you.
Absolutely. So as of this moment, we get funding for our summer and fall program. So we'll start marketing for that around like April, May. And then, this year we supported about 160 or 70-ish students. And we want to expand that number. So assuming we get funding again, we provide support to the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So at that point, your child would age into that. And so that would be the free option or the low cost option. There's a bit of some donors require a small financial contribution. Some donors say it's fine, it can be a full scholarship. So it just depends on the position that we're in, but that is the more affordable option. And it's kind of like, that's the position that we're in as of right now. Things could change next year, so you never know. So just keep in touch, make sure you're on our mailing list. And as soon as opportunities become available, we typically send them out so that you guys can get the support. What's your honest opinion on Townsend Harris versus Stuyvesant? I mean, they're both excellent schools. It depends on what you're looking for. Stuyvesant is an exceptional school. I also love Hunter. Hunter is a top school. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for computer science, I love Stuyvesant because every student has to take computer science. And if you like it, you can take 3 years of computer science. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity for our children. And I just strongly believe in those schools because they really do kind of, you know, collect the top of the top of the top. Townsend Harris does as well. It's just more of a holistic admissions process. So it depends on the culture that you're looking for. It depends on some of the other elements and the opportunities that are made available. I also love the network and the brand of going to Stuyvesant or Bronx Science. You know, it really does follow you. And every city, big city you go to, you're going to see some of those specialized high schools. But again, I've met some phenomenal people from Townsend Harris. So it's they're both phenomenal schools. And from our perspective, we say, as long as you make it into one of the top 40 or so schools, we're happy. And the rest is up to a parent to really think about, you know, what a child really wants and what best aligns. Townsend Harris recently lost their money for college classes. Oh man, that's unfortunate. But Stuyvesant, I'm sure didn't. So that's something to keep in mind. Just always keep up to date with the opportunities that are being made available to the children. Yes, the meeting was recorded. We will be sharing it. This was a pretty well run and informative meeting, so we'll make sure that this is widely circulated, and we just are so happy for the narrative. Do we have any final questions before we head out? They didn't lose it. Carranza stopped the contract, which is relatively small. Oh boy, yeah, it's very political. It's very political. How should kids study in the meantime? So on our website in the free resources section, we have the 12 past SHSAT handbooks. That's 24 exams. Your children need to master these tests. They need to master them. There are exams that we've even given to your children that they have yet to master. There's probably a good number of students who are ready to get into Stuyvesant in our program. And then there's another boatload that started very late and still have a lot of work to do. So that's really where your focus needs to be. I would see this as a tremendous opportunity because they have extra time to really focus in and go back and find those diagnostics and really hone in on some of those questions. Parents, step up and start proctoring some of those exams from home. Miss Remeise, who's on the line, between Admission Squad and the work that she did with her son, John took 31 diagnostics by the time he was getting ready to go to Stuyvesant. And I know it sounds crazy, but he got into Stuyvesant though. So if they did it, I know that you can. So go ahead, find every book. You can go to the library, you can get the books for free. The goal is to get them to achieve mastery. And what is the worst that can happen? They go on to become brilliant children. There is no downside to mastering this content. So let's stay focused on that. Right, as of right now, we did not, you know, you still have access to bell curves because we still have to do that final diagnostic. And I believe bell curves has some, you know, videos for the children. And for those of you who were with us in the summer, we gave you guys free access to Argo Prep. So you guys have plenty of material to work with, you know, to get ready for this exam. So I do hope that, you know, everyone is staying focused on what's most important, which is student achievement. And then you're still, as a parent, figuring out what can you do to speak up and share your, you know, share your perspective, because this narrative that our children can't do it is a lie. And so I'm so happy that we were able to, you know, share that link. We will follow up this this call with an email with the link as well. So please share that widely, and let's actually get some more folks to submit those emails. But with that, I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much, Nedia, for posting into chat. Yep, there's several practice exams on the Admission Squad website, so please take advantage. Yes, you still have access to Argo Prep. I'm going to check in with them to see how long they will allow that, but I don't think that they've cut anything off. So you guys are still in a great position. So again, with that, thank you so much. You know, yes, good luck. Thank you so much, John, for being here. Thank you, Stanley, for being here. Thank you, Samantha. Yes, this was an excellent conversation. And again, I wish you guys all the best. And as soon as I get more information, I will absolutely let you know. Okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.